everyone, I'm Cosette. Today we're talking about the subject section of the appraisal report. It's the first thing appraisers look at and sets the stage for everything else. And guess what? My mom is here today. She's an appraiser and she knows everything. But I know a little bit about houses and numbers and all the serious stuff. Right, Mom?
That's right, Cosette. Hi, everyone. I'm Nicollette, Certified Appraiser and owner of True Home Appraisal. This is the first video in our appraisal report series, where we will go section by section, line by line, through the entire appraisal report. We'll explain everything, so it's very easy to understand. The subject section is where we summarize key details about the property we're appraising. Let's go line by line and break it all down.
The first line is easy. Property address. Everyone knows where they live, right?
Yes, but for appraisers, it's critical that this information is 100% accurate. Even a small typo here can create really big issues later, especially if the property's address does not match public records.
Next, we have borrower. That's the person getting the loan for the house.
Exactly. And right next to that, we see owner of public record. This tells us who legally owns the property, which might not always match the borrower. We verify this using county records and the title report to make sure that there are no surprises.
Oh, I got a fancy one. Legal description. Sounds official, huh?
It is. The legal description is a detailed way of identifying the property using its exact location. It's more precise than just the address, and it comes from legal documents like the deed.
Wow! I'm just gonna call it the house's fancy name. Assessor's parcel number. That's the house's secret code for the county, right?
That's right, Cosette. It's a unique number used by the tax assessor's office to identify a property. It's also tied to the tax records, which brings us to the next lines. Tax year and real estate taxes. This tells us when the tax information was last updated and how much the owner pays annually. Also, keep in mind that the tax amount on each property is based on the assessed value of the home, which is completely different than the market value that appraisers find.
Now for something fun. Neighborhood name. Does every house have one?
Not always, but when it does, it helps us to understand the neighborhood that a property is located in. If there's no official name for the neighborhood, we would just describe the area instead. The map reference and census tract are two additional reference points that are used to identify a property.
What does that even mean?
The map reference is like a code that tells us where to find the property on certain maps. The census tract is a small area defined by the government to group neighborhoods. For an appraisal, it helps us understand the property's location in the context of its community, like population or economic trends in the area.
Okay, we're getting into checkboxes now. Occupant means who's living there.
Yes, that line is asking about who lives in the property, which is considered the occupant. So that could mean a homeowner, it could mean a tenant, or it could be that the property is vacant. This section is really important for the loan process because if an owner is living in the property, it is considered their primary residence. If a tenant is living in the property, then they may be able to count rental income from that property. If the property is vacant, that's important too. In a mortgage application, it is very important to the underwriter that this information be correct. This section also includes special assessments, which would be any extra taxes that are for local improvements like schools, fire departments, police stations, and things like that. The next line is PUD, This stands for Planned Unit Development. A property is in a PUD if there is an HOA or if there are CC&Rs related to the property.
PUD sounds like pudding. Yum.
The next part is HOA dues, where we would put what the homeowner pays towards the homeowners association, and we would specify if they are paid yearly or monthly. The next line is property rights, which is either fee simple or leasehold. If it's fee simple, that means that the owner owns both the land and the structure. If it is leasehold, that means that the land is owned by someone else. Then we have assignment type, and that just refers to whether the report is being completed for a purchase, a refinance, or for some other type of loan.
Next is the lender-client line. That's who needs the appraisal, like the bank or lender.
Right, Cosette. This is really important because in an appraisal, the lender is actually the appraiser's client, not the buyer or the seller. The lender hires us to make sure that the property is worth the amount that they are lending.
Even if the buyer or seller has questions, the appraiser has to report to the lender first?
Exactly. The appraiser is not allowed to share any details from the report with the buyer or the seller, even though the seller owns the home, because the report is confidential for the lender. But don't worry, appraisers follow really strict rules to make sure that every single report is fair and unbiased for everyone involved.
That's good to know. What's next?
The next part asks if the property has been listed or offered for sale in the last 12 months. If the current transaction is a purchase, then this would be marked yes, and all details about the current listing, as well as any previous listings in the last 12 months, would be put in this section. This helps us to understand how the market reacted to the property's price. You might see acronyms like DOM in this section, and that refers to days on market. That's how long the property was listed before it sold or was taken off the market.
If a house has been on the market a long time, that tells you something about how people felt about the price.
That's right, Cosette. We also include all of our sources like the MLS and public records for obtaining this information. So everything in the report is accurate and transparent for the lender.
And that's the subject section of the appraisal report. Not too scary, right?
Not at all. The subject section is all about setting the stage with accurate information so that the appraiser can have all of the details of the property before beginning the analysis. We'll dive into the contract section of the report in our next video.
You want to learn more about real estate? Hit the like button and subscribe for our next video. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.